Federal government initiates measures to bring down price of cooking gas. Pensioners decry exclusion from payment of pension increments and other benefits. A very good evening and welcome to the news desk at 6 on Nta News24. We are live in Abuja. I am Nta News. Nigeria is now in the process of transiting from reform to realization of the potentials in the livestock sector, and President Bola Tinubu says he is fully committed to the course to grow the country's economy. He was speaking at the Stakeholders Consultative Workshop on Livestock Reforms in Nigeria, held at the State House Conference Center. State House correspondent Musbah Danwahab reports.
The man with the idea is here, and the idea to convert the challenges in the livestock sector to flourishing opportunities has continued to gain traction in the sequential processes of reforms. From presidential idea to reform and then implementation, the Presidential Committee is now set to get much broader perspectives with more than 300 participants from across the country.
Significantly, reforming and repositioning the livestock sector would also help us to mitigate the perennial conflicts between farmers and herders, which have bedeviled the sector with negative consequences to peaceful coexistence, community relations, and beneficial productive activities.
Beyond the primary aim, the renewed Hope Livestock Reform hoping to unlock the opportunities yet untapped in the sector. The Federal Ministry of Livestock Development, a recommendation of the committee with the immediate approval of the President, is becoming a reality. And with the vast economic potentials to boost the nation's GDP, President Bola Tinubu believes Nigeria has looked away from these prospects for too long.
The long neglect has well on our country's import bill between 1.2 to 1.5 billion. It's being spent to import dairy food and all of that. Then what are we doing with the size of land? We didn't see the investment opportunity. We didn't see the economy. We didn't see the cold room investment. We didn't see that opportunity before now, but it's coming.
And now, with a demonstration of commitment by the administration, as it appears right now, only time stands between Nigeria and realization of the full potential of this sector.
It's about time that we do it right. A country of over 200 million people, I cannot serve our children 1 pint of milk in the classroom per day. We are going to give it all it needs to bring value to our country.
What we're doing here today is laying the foundation of a better future. For us in the states and the local governments, that's where the land is. We have to make efforts to make land available to make the federal government's policy a success.
We shall also mobilize our people to take active part in the livestock sector development initiatives for the overall interest of our great country, Nigeria.
The diverse experiences and perspectives of stakeholders will enrich the ongoing transformation of the sector and help shape policies that will create Nigeria's sustainable livestock economy that is globally competitive.
So it makes sense that we are solving a security problem by supporting a sector that in some countries is a major contributor to gross domestic product.
Participants here have 2 days to come up with recommendations which will, among others, facilitate the smooth takeoff of a newly established Ministry of Livestock Development. From the State House, Musbah Wahab, Nta News.
Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has transmitted to the Senate Thursday list of 7 ministerial nominees for screening and confirmation. The nominees are Dr. Nentewe Yewada, Mohamedou Meigari Dingyadi, Bianca Ojukwu, and Yusuf Abdullahi Atta. Others are Idi Mokhtar Maiha, Jumoke Oduwale, and Suiba Said Ahmed.
Will receive the usual expeditious consideration of the Senate. Please accept, distinguished Senate President and distinguished senators, the assurances of my highest regards. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief, Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The communication was referred to the Committee of the Whole for action in the shortest possible time. Meanwhile, Senate has urged the Ministry of Works to dredge and channel rivers Benue and Niger to prevent recurring flood. Public affairs analysts say President Tinubu's recent cabinet reshuffle will serve as warning to other ministers to step up their performance or risk being disengaged. Discussing the cabinet reshuffle on Good Morning Nigeria, guests advised the president to strengthen the Hadiza Bala Osman Committee and policy coordination and consider expanding key performance indicators to states and other agencies. Kemini Williams has the details.
Reactions have continued to pour into President Bola Tinubu's cabinet reshuffle, reassigning 10 ministers and disengaging 5 others in a move to boost his administration's efficiency. President Tinubu has also scrapped the Niger Delta Ministry and the Ministry of Sports Development. Senior Special Advisor to the President on Media on the program noted that the decision was based on careful performance analysis.
Pending. We have a lot of duplications, and a lot of times Nigerians come out to cry about high cost of governance, this and that. Meanwhile, you are having duplicacious agencies. You have Ministry of Niger Delta Development Commission, and at the end of it, they overlap.
It's okay for us to tweak these ministries, departments, and agencies in the spirit of cutting costs, bringing them together, harmonizing, maybe for administrative convenience and all of that. But if it is one too many, if it is happening too frequently, where there's no continuity, where there's no stability, where there's no continuity or sustainability, it can also lead to inefficiency.
Guests, while commending the cabinet shake-up, also insisted that capacity should be the overriding principle for appointment and less of pedigree. They advised the president to further empower the Hadiza Bala Usman Committee to extend key performance indicators to state governments and other agencies.
Don't forget that Hadiza herself is the daughter of late Bala Usman, who had been an anti-corruption crusader. So if you go by that unit alone, to become the ombudsman, it will get Mr. President to get what is needed. So that if he budgets 10 million naira in any department or agency or ministry, the unit will be in a position to say, Mr. President, it had been prudently used.
So if we're able to even get KPIs for the state, then that will even assist Mr. President so that the focus on federal government all the time will be reduced, and we can be able to say that this state is aligning their priorities and deliverables with what the government is doing or not. And then that unit is not even leveraging on our universities.
The guests described this as a bold move towards ensuring accountability in government. In Abuja, Kemini Williams, Nta News.
And a bill for an act to amend the Tertiary Education Trust Fund Act 2011 has scaled second reading at the House of Representatives. The amendment of the Tech Fund Act seeks the provision of additional conditions for accessing funds for capital projects by beneficiary institutions.
They're just saying that the universities who have shown capacity, who have shown resilience, who have shown steadfastness, can use their track record to have a better chance than one university who has not done anything, who has just sat down and not expending the use of the resources they've afforded them.
Let me pause a bit and ask you this question. What happens if the university have not shown capacity and it's a new university? As long as the fund will not discriminate against new upcoming universities, where the older universities that have shown capacity will drive larger percentage of the fund, and new universities like the one some of us are proposing will not benefit from it.
If for whatever reason we deny our universities the opportunity to increase and improve their capacities in the next 5-10 years down the line, what will be the standards that we will have?
All tertiary institutions need our support, but that has made me, they must be transparent and accountable. This is an intervention fund that must be monitored and managed well.
For them to access the TED fund, they must show how they utilized their internally generated revenue.
Asking universities to submit their financial records and jobs they have done to Accountant General of Nigeria with enormous responsibilities he cannot even meet. It's just a way of saying that it's impossible for universities to access this fund.
The problem has been that most institutions have not even met up with some of the stringent conditions, one of which is that until you exhaust the allocations for the current year, you are not entitled to take that of the previous year. So that has brought unassessed interventions.
Call on Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to place public tertiary institutions on the service-based tariffs of Band C, or if there is any band that is lower than Band C.
The bill has been referred to the House Committee on TED Fund for further legislative action. The federal government says it will commit more resources to livestock farming towards repositioning the vital sector of agriculture. At an event organized by Livestock Productivity and Resilience Support, the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security says accurate data is one thing that will help reposition the vast livestock business in Nigeria. Active stakeholders in the livestock industry also crave for development of national livestock data and market information system.
I'm sure we're going to have. And another thing is we need to involve the private sector. You know, government has actually no business in business. So if we can leverage with the private sector, we are going to go a long way to sustain.
There's a need for us to have an LDMIS, which will be able to capture the movements of animals, marketing of animals, and then show market data for the animals, you know, across the country. Farmers in different parts of the country need to know where they will dispose their animals. We need to even get an indication of how many animals we really have.
Our aim is to improve productivity, commercialization, and resilience of livestock value chain generally. So here, what we are talking about here is commercialization. We are trying to commercialize the livestock sector. We are trying to improve the data, market data information.
They say proper planning and research will help Nigeria meet up with global requirements in livestock management. Let's take a break now. More reports shortly.
My administration took over leadership of our country 16 months ago at a critical juncture. The economy faced many headwinds and our physical security highly impaired. We found ourselves at a decent crossroad where we must choose between two paths: reform for progress and prosperity, or carry on the business as usual and collapse. We decided to reform our political economy and defense architecture.
Welcome back. The federal government is taking proactive action towards bringing down the cost of liquefied natural gas. Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Gas, it will reeled out government decisions at an interface with stakeholders in the gas value chain in Abuja. Lydia Sampson reports.
Determined to address the skyrocketing price of liquefied petroleum gas and its attendant hardship on Nigerians, Ekpe was categorical that Nigerians have no business suffering in the midst of plenty while the country keeps exporting LPG.
This undesirable trend cannot be allowed to continue unchecked. It is my expectation that these deadlines will be met and our people will soon begin to give some relief from the current high cost of cooking gas, which is essential to their well-being, in line with the aspiration of President Tinubu's From Gas to Prosperity.
He profiled short-term and long-term solutions with effect from November 1st, 2024. NNPC Limited and LPG producers are to stop exporting LPG produced in-country or import equivalent volumes of LPG exported at cost-reflective prices. He urged NMDPRA to engage stakeholders to create a domestic LPG pricing framework within 90 days, indexing price to cost of in-country production rather than the current practice of indexing against external markets. The long-term solution is to ensure facilities are developed within 12 months to blend, store and deliver LPG, ending exports until the market achieves sufficiency and price stability. ECO's directives are designed towards addressing the inherent challenges and ensuring Nigerians have access to affordable cooking gas. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, Nta News.
And in support of Jigawa State Government, Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, has donated a sum of 40 million naira and food items to victims of tanker explosion in Majia village of the state. The donation was presented on her behalf by the delegation led by wife of the Speaker, House of Representatives, Hajia Fatima Tajuddin Abbas, at the Government House, Duse. Handing over the check sum and food items to the wife of the State Governor, Hadiza Omar Namadi, Hajia Fatima Tajuddin Abbas says the plight of the victims is of great concern to the First Lady.
To the families and loved ones and the good people of Jigawa State that lost their lives in this tragic tanker incident, our hearts go out to the victims of the families, to their loved ones and to the entire Jigawa State and to Nigeria.
This is a heart-wrenching moment for all of us, and your presence here is a symbol of solidarity, compassion, and support that give us strength in this time of grief.
The delegation was earlier at the Rashid Shekoni Federal University Teaching Hospital, Duse, where some of the victims are currently receiving medical attention. There, the leader of the delegation again shared words of comfort and hope with the victims, assuring them of the First Lady's support for them at this painful time. Kebbi State Governor Nasir Idris has signed into law a new minimum wage of 75,000 naira for state civil servants. This was at a meeting with the national body of the Nigerian Labour Congress in Birnin Kebbi. Correspondent Abu Jalil Mohammed Bawa reports.
The signing of the new Kebbi State minimum wage of 75,000 naira by Governor Nasir Idris followed the submission of a report by the State Committee on the implementation of the new minimum wage. This committee comprises state officials, labor union representatives, and other stakeholders in the state. The national president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Joe Ajero, hailed the signing as a significant step towards boosting productivity in the state civil service.
The time we were negotiating was a turbulent period. And when we had comments from states like Kebbi to say, whatever is agreed, we are going to implement, we were encouraged.
Governor Idris emphasized the crucial role of civil servant in nation building and reaffirmed his administration's commitment to their welfare in the state.
I have directed that the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Local Government should ensure the implementation of the minimum wage to all categories of workers, the state workers, the teachers, and the local government workers.
The new Kebbi State minimum wage is expected to take effect immediately. In Birnin Kebbi, Abdul Muhammad Bawa, Nta News.
And reports just reaching us say President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has restricted ministers of state and heads of agencies of the federal government to a maximum of 3 vehicles in their official convoys. This new directive, in a statement by the Presidential Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, also indicates that no additional vehicles will be assigned to them for movement. The Special Advisor recalls that in January this year, President Tinubu took significant steps to reduce government expenditure by reducing his entourage on foreign trips from 50 to 20 officials. For local trips, he reduced it to 25 officials. He similarly reduced the Vice President's entourage to 5 officials on foreign trips and 15 for local trips. In the directive issued today, President Tinubu also ordered all ministers of state and heads of agencies to have at most 5 security personnel attached to them. The security team will comprise 4 police officers and 1 Department of State Services officer. President Tinubu instructed the National Security Advisor to engage with the military, paramilitary and security agencies to determine a suitable reduction in their vehicle and security personnel deployment. All affected officials are expected to comply with these new measures immediately, underscoring the urgency and seriousness of these changes. A forum of former deputy governors is proposing to establish a humanitarian center in order to assist in times of disasters. The forum as well seeks more stringent legislation that provides for a stiffer penalty for abandonment of public-funded projects across the country. These were part of communique developed as his 2-day conference ends in Abuja. Kenneth Nanim reports.
It's been a 2-day intensive evaluation process where issues of national interest are being considered, and some of them have been put into perspective with their communique raised. The forum agreed on a number of issues, including the need for a healthy working relationship between the outgoing political office holders and their successors to ensure that projects meant for the socio-economic development of the nation are not abandoned.
In every contract condition, you will find out that there are rules, there are penalties stipulated for non-completion of projects. The punishments are not severe enough.
There is the need to have a stakeholder engagement, a forum that can give government adequate information about the priority needs of the people.
The need to address issues such as insufficient food production, food importation, conflict and insecurity, climate change and natural disasters were also considered.
There should be agricultural hubs intentionally created. And in addition, those hubs, there must be security. Security must be provided.
Mechanization is very crucial because you cannot continue using the hoe and the cutlass again.
Now, the second thing is input. The input the farmers need are good seeds, fertilizer.
This conference is really a chance for me to engage my colleagues and also to call on the federal government to put more effort on the security of our people in Zamfara State and other neighboring states.
Expectations of the forum include that the recommendations will be adopted and adequately implemented at both national and state levels. Kenneth Nanim, Nta News.
And that concludes the news desk at 6 on Nta News 24. Thank you for watching. I am Nta Daniels.